Are you repelling love with the words you use to speak about yourself? There are 11 words that Louise discovered work like a magnet, but most people speak exactly the opposite. I know because I spent 43 years pushing love away without even knowing it. Every time someone tried to get close, every time genuine affection came my way, I would unconsciously speak words about myself that created a force field of rejection. Let me tell you about Serafina. She came to one of my workshops 3 years ago, and I could see it immediately. Beautiful woman, 41 years old, successful career, but she carried herself like she was apologizing for existing. During our break, she approached me with tears in her eyes. She said, "Louise, I don't understand. I want love so desperately, but every relationship ends the same way. They always say I'm too much work, that I don't believe in myself enough for them to believe in me." What Serafina didn't realize was that every morning when she looked in the mirror, she was programming her energy field to repel exactly what she was longing for. She would say things like, "I'm such a mess today," or "I don't know why anyone would want to be with someone like me," or "I need to fix myself before I can be loved." These weren't just thoughts. They were magnetic instructions to the universe. It was a Tuesday morning at 6:47 when I decided to share with Serafina what had taken me decades to understand. I pulled her aside after the workshop and said, "Darling, love isn't something you earn through perfection. Love is something you magnetize through recognition of what's already true about you." Her eyes widened, and I could see something shifting in her chest, the way breathing changes when hope returns after a long absence. I taught her the 11 words that morning. Not as affirmations, not as positive thinking, but as statements of truth that would rewire her entire electromagnetic field. Within 6 weeks, she met a man who saw her radiance before she even spoke. But more importantly, she finally saw it in herself. They married 18 months later, and she still sends me photos of their morning ritual, speaking these same 11 words together as they start each day. If this story touches something in your heart, if you recognize yourself in Serafina's journey, I invite you to join me here every week. Each teaching I share is another key to unlock the love that's been waiting for you to call it forward. When your heart whispers yes, let that be your sign to subscribe. You might be wondering, what could 11 simple words possibly do to change decades of patterns? How can language transform the way love flows toward you? Before I reveal these words, I need you to understand something that will change everything. You are not broken. You are not unlovable. You are not too much or not enough. You are simply speaking the wrong frequency. While you're feeling this shift happening in your chest, scroll down to the comments and share this with me. What words do you typically use when you speak about yourself? What does your inner voice sound like when you describe who you are? There's no judgment here, only awareness. And awareness is always the first step toward magnetism. Right now, I want you to place your hand on your heart. Yes, while you're listening to this, feel the warmth of your palm against your chest. Take 3 deep breaths with me. Inhale slowly through your nose, hold for just a moment, and exhale through your mouth like you're releasing years of old programming. Again, inhale the possibility, hold the hope, exhale the resistance. One more time. Breathe in your worthiness. Hold your power. Breathe out anything that says you're not enough. What you're about to hear are not just words. They are a frequency. They are a magnetic declaration that will begin rewiring your energy field immediately. Louise discovered these 11 words during her own journey from rejection to reception, from pushing love away to drawing it close. She spent months testing different combinations, different rhythms, until she found the exact sequence that creates what she called the love magnet effect. Here are the 11 words that will change everything. Listen carefully and feel them in your body as I speak them slowly. I am loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love. Let me say that again. And this time, notice what happens in your chest, in your throat, in your stomach. I am loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love. Now I want you to whisper these words with me. Don't worry about believing them yet. Just let your voice carry them into the air around you. Whisper softly, I am loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love. Feel the vibration in your throat, the way the words want to expand in your chest. Now say them in your normal speaking voice, as if you're telling a friend something wonderful about yourself. I am loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love. Notice if there's any resistance, any voice that wants to argue. Thank that voice for trying to protect you, and continue anyway. One more time, speak these words with the authority of someone who knows absolutely that they are true. Let your voice carry the conviction of universal law. I am loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love. Feel how the energy shifts around you. Some of you might feel warmth flooding your chest. Others might feel tears coming. Some might feel a strange lightness, like a weight you didn't know you were carrying just lifted. Can you sense how the energy around you just changed? Something in the electromagnetic field of your being just shifted. You might feel it as warmth, as expansion, as a gentle opening in your heart center. You might notice your breathing has changed, become deeper, more relaxed. This isn't imagination. This is the immediate effect of speaking truth about your essential nature. Your subconscious mind just received new programming. For the next 72 hours, these words will be working in the background of your consciousness, beginning to dissolve old patterns and create new neural pathways. You've just planted a seed in the fertile soil of your awareness, and this seed is designed to grow into a magnetic field that draws love toward you naturally and effortlessly. What physical sensation did you experience when you spoke those 11 words? Did you feel warmth, tingling, expansion, or perhaps some resistance? Share in the comments what happened in your body. When you read others' experiences, you'll realize thousands of people are learning to magnetize love through the same simple truth. Your nervous system just received permission to expect love instead of rejection. Now let me explain why these specific 11 words work when so many other approaches to attracting love have failed you. This isn't about positive thinking or trying to convince yourself of something that isn't true. This is about quantum physics, frequency, and the electromagnetic field that surrounds every human being. Louise Hay discovered something that quantum physicists are now proving in laboratories. Every word you speak carries a specific vibrational frequency, and that frequency attracts experiences that match it exactly. When you say, I'm such a disaster, you're broadcasting on the disaster frequency. When you say, nobody could love someone like me, you're transmitting a signal that ensures people who might love you will feel uncomfortable in your presence without knowing why. But here's what Louise found through decades of careful observation. There are certain combinations of words that create what she called magnetic resonance. These aren't random positive phrases. They're specific frequencies that align with the universal field of love itself. The word loving activates your capacity to give love freely. The word lovable opens your receptivity to receiving love from others. And completely worthy of love dissolves the deepest barrier, the unconscious belief that you must earn what you already deserve by nature of existing. Research in neuroscience shows us that when you speak words aligned with your essential nature, your brain releases oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins. These chemicals don't just make you feel good temporarily. They literally rewire your neural networks to expect and recognize love when it appears. More importantly, they change the energy you radiate, making you magnetic to people who are also operating from love rather than fear. But I know what your mind is doing right now. I can almost hear the 3 most common forms of resistance that arise when people first encounter this truth. The first is the unworthiness resistance, that voice that says, "But I've done so many things wrong. How can I be completely worthy?" The second is the skepticism resistance, the part that says, "This is too simple. Real change requires more work than this." And the third is the familiarity resistance, the unconscious fear that if you become truly magnetic to love, your entire life will have to change in ways you can't control. Place your hand on your heart again and breathe deeply. These resistances aren't signs that this doesn't work. They're signs that it's working so effectively that the old programming is fighting to survive. Every time you feel doubt about your worthiness, every time skepticism arises, every time fear whispers that change is dangerous, remember this moment. Remember that resistance is simply old energy being displaced by new truth. If what you're hearing is creating a shift in how you see yourself, if these words are landing in your heart like puzzle pieces, finally finding their place, then I want you to continue this journey with me. What I'm sharing with you here is just the beginning of a complete transformation in how love flows in your life. Subscribe to this channel because each week I share another piece of the puzzle that Louise left for us. Louise taught that the universe responds not to what you want, but to what you believe you deserve. And what you believe you deserve is programmed by the words you speak about yourself when no one is listening. For the next 47 years of her life after discovering these 11 words, Louise never experienced romantic rejection again. Not because she became perfect, but because she became magnetic. Now that you understand why these 11 words work, let me give you 3 specific ways to amplify their magnetic effect. These aren't just additional techniques, they're precision tools for embedding this new frequency so deeply into your being that attraction becomes your natural state rather than something you have to work at creating. The first practice I call mirror magnetism. Every morning before you do anything else, before you check your phone or start your daily routine, go to your bathroom mirror. Look directly into your own eyes and speak these 11 words with complete presence. I am loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love. Don't rush through them. Let each word land fully before moving to the next. Watch your face as you speak. Notice if you want to look away when you get to completely worthy. That's exactly where the healing happens. Stay with your own gaze. Let your eyes receive the love you're speaking. The second practice is what Louise called the love letter protocol. Once a week, sit down and write yourself a letter using these 11 words as your foundation. Begin with, "My dearest, most beloved self," and then describe yourself through the lens of these words. What does it mean that you are loving? Give yourself specific examples. What makes you lovable? Notice qualities others appreciate about you. Why are you completely worthy of love? Write as if you're reminding yourself of something you temporarily forgot but have always known to be true. The third practice is the emergency anchor. This is for moments when the old programming kicks in strong, when you catch yourself speaking the language of unworthiness, when someone's criticism activates your inner voice of rejection. In those moments, place your hand on your heart and repeat just 3 words from our 11. Completely worthy will reset your frequency faster than any argument with the critical voice. Say it until you feel your nervous system relax, until the grip of unworthiness loosens, until you remember who you really are. Let me tell you about Cordelia, a woman who came to my workshop in Chicago 2 years ago. She was 58 years old and convinced that love was for other people, that she had missed her window somehow. Cordelia had spent 30 years in a marriage where her husband constantly criticized her appearance, her intelligence, her worth. After their divorce, she built walls so high that no one could get close enough to hurt her again, but also no one could get close enough to love her. She started with just the mirror practice, speaking those 11 words to herself every morning. For the first 2 weeks, she could barely get through them without crying, but she continued anyway. By week 3, something shifted. She started noticing how differently people responded to her at work, how conversations became warmer, how her own energy felt lighter and more open. By month 2, a man she'd known casually for years asked her to coffee. She almost said no out of habit, but something in her chest said yes before her mind could interfere. They've been together for 18 months now, and Cordelia tells me the difference isn't just that she found love. The difference is that she became someone who expects love, who receives it naturally, who radiates it effortlessly. The magnetic field created by those 11 words literally restructured her entire relationship with herself and with others. Of these 3 practices, mirror work, love letters, or the emergency anchor, which one makes your heart beat a little faster? Which one do you immediately know you need to begin? There's usually one that calls to you more strongly than the others, and that's your psyche telling you where the deepest healing wants to happen. You have the power to become irresistibly magnetic to the kind of love that nourishes your soul, the love that sees you completely and embraces all of who you are. What I'm about to share with you are the advanced practices that Louise used to maintain her magnetic field at the highest level. Practices that ensure love doesn't just come into your life, but stays and deepens and grows stronger with time. The fourth practice is magnetic visualization. Every evening before you sleep, lie down comfortably and speak your 11 words silently, while visualizing golden light emanating from your heart center. See this light extending 3 feet around your body in all directions, creating what Louise called your love field. As you hold this image, imagine this golden energy attracting people and situations that match its frequency. Don't try to control what comes or who appears. Simply generate the magnetic field and trust that love recognizes love. The fifth practice is public declaration. This might feel scary at first, but it's incredibly powerful. When you're in public spaces, at the grocery store, walking down the street, sitting in a coffee shop, silently repeat your 11 words while looking at the people around you. Not with any agenda or expectation, but as a way of broadcasting your new frequency into the collective field. You'll be amazed at how differently people respond to you when you're internally affirming your worthiness rather than internally criticizing yourself. Here's the mechanical truth about how this works. When you consistently speak words of love about yourself, your nervous system relaxes out of survival mode and into what scientists call social engagement mode. Your facial expressions soften, your voice becomes warmer, your body language opens. People feel safe around you because you feel safe with yourself. But more than that, you begin emanating an energy that Louise described as irresistible authenticity. You're no longer trying to be lovable. You know you are lovable, and that knowing creates a magnetic pull that draws genuine people toward you. You're at a choice point right now. You can continue operating from the old frequency, the one that says you have to earn love through perfection, through being smaller, through fixing everything that's supposedly wrong with you. Or you can choose to step into this new magnetic frequency where love seeks you out because you've remembered what was always true about your essential nature. The universe is waiting for your decision. What are you choosing? I want to tell you about Ezekiel, a man who attended one of our men's workshops in Denver. He was 45 years old and had given up on love completely after a series of relationships where he felt constantly criticized and diminished. He said to me, "Louise, I think I'm just meant to be alone. Every woman I've ever been with eventually gets tired of who I am." What Ezekiel didn't realize was that he was attracting people who confirmed his own inner dialogue of not being enough. We worked with him on these advanced practices for 4 months. The magnetic visualization was particularly powerful for him. He said that after 3 weeks of creating his golden love field every night, he started noticing how differently women responded to him. Not just romantically, but every woman in his life, colleagues, friends, even strangers. They seemed more relaxed around him, more genuinely interested in conversation. 6 months later, he met someone at a bookstore. But here's the beautiful thing. He told me later that when they first spoke, he wasn't trying to impress her or win her over. He was simply present, knowing himself to be completely worthy of love, and that knowing was so attractive that she asked him for coffee before he could even think to ask her. They're engaged now, and he says the relationship feels completely different from anything he's ever experienced because it's built on magnetic attraction rather than desperate seeking. Love magnetism isn't something that happens overnight, but the beautiful truth is that it creates visible signs and shifts along a very predictable timeline. Understanding these milestones will help you recognize the changes happening in your own magnetic field and trust the process even when old doubts try to convince you nothing is working. The first milestone happens within 7 days of beginning this practice. You'll notice that the internal critic, that voice that's been commenting negatively on everything you do, starts to quiet down. It doesn't disappear completely, but it loses its grip on your attention. Instead of spending mental energy arguing with thoughts about your inadequacy, you'll find yourself naturally redirecting to these 11 words. Your nervous system begins to expect self-kindness instead of self-attack, and this creates an immediate shift in how you move through the world. Milestone 2 emerges between days 7 and 14. This is when you start receiving what I call confirmation signals from your environment. people begin responding to you differently. You might notice that conversations flow more easily, that strangers smile at you more often, that friends comment on something different about your energy. These aren't coincidences. Your electromagnetic field is literally broadcasting a new frequency, and the world is reflecting that frequency back to you through changed interactions. The third milestone unfolds between weeks 2 and 3. Your own energy becomes noticeably different to you. You'll find yourself feeling more comfortable in social situations, less concerned with what others think of you, more willing to express your authentic self. This happens because when you know yourself to be loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love, you stop performing for approval and start sharing from genuineness. This authenticity is incredibly magnetic because so few people operate from this level of self-acceptance. Here's where most people get scared and want to retreat back to familiar patterns. Between weeks 3 and 4, you'll start attracting attention from people who are genuinely interested in you, not just people who want to fix you or be fixed by you. This can feel overwhelming if you're used to relationships built on mutual need rather than mutual appreciation. But this is exactly where you want to be. Healthy people are attracted to other healthy people, and your new magnetic field is calling in what you've been truly longing for. The 5th milestone is the most profound. Around the 1-month mark, you'll experience what Louise called the identity shift. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who's trying to attract love and start experiencing yourself as someone who naturally magnetizes love wherever you go. This isn't arrogance or ego. It's a quiet knowing that love is your natural state and that everything else was just temporary forgetting. Here is where most people abandon the practice, and I need you to understand why so you don't make the same mistake. When you start becoming genuinely magnetic to healthy love, your entire life begins shifting to accommodate this new version of yourself. Old relationships that were based on drama or dysfunction start feeling uncomfortable. Patterns of seeking validation from people who can't truly see you begin falling away. This can feel like loss before it feels like liberation. You are not most people. You're here because something in you recognizes that it's time to step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. You're here because you're ready to stop apologizing for your existence and start celebrating your inherent worthiness. The fear that arises during transformation is not a sign to stop. It's a sign that you're breaking through to something real. Tell me in the comments, as you hear these milestones, which one resonates most strongly with you? Do you recognize yourself in any of these phases? Are you already experiencing some of these shifts? I want to hear where you are in this journey because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to keep going. Now we need to talk honestly about what will try to stop you from maintaining this magnetic frequency. There are 5 specific obstacles that appear on this journey, and I want you to be prepared for each one so that when they arise, you recognize them as part of the process rather than signs that something is wrong. The first obstacle is what I call imposter syndrome of the heart. This is when you start feeling good about yourself, start receiving positive attention, and then a voice emerges that says, if they really knew me, they wouldn't be interested. This voice will try to convince you that your magnetic energy is somehow fake, that you're deceiving people by not leading with your flaws and failures. But here's the truth that voice doesn't want you to know. Your light is not deception. Your worthiness is not performance. When you magnetize love by knowing your true nature, you're not tricking anyone. You're finally being honest about who you've always been underneath the layers of learned unworthiness. The second obstacle is the fear of real intimacy. When you become truly magnetic, you start attracting people who want to know you deeply, not just superficially. They're drawn to your authenticity and want to share their own. If you've spent years in relationships where you could hide behind roles and walls, this level of genuine connection can feel terrifying. The temptation will be to push away anyone who sees too much, who loves too freely, who offers the very intimacy you've been longing for. This is when you must remember that you are completely worthy of being seen and loved exactly as you are. The third obstacle runs deeper than the others because it's usually inherited rather than chosen. Family programming around love often operates below the level of consciousness. You might have grown up watching your parents struggle with love, seeing relationships as battlegrounds rather than sanctuaries. Or perhaps love in your family was conditional, something you had to earn through achievement or good behavior. When you start magnetizing unconditional love, it can feel foreign, even dangerous, because it doesn't match the template you learned in childhood. Your nervous system might actually interpret healthy love as a threat because it's unfamiliar. The fourth obstacle is self-sabotage. When love approaches, this is the tendency to create drama, pick fights, or find flaws in people or situations when they get too close to what you actually want. It happens because part of your psyche believes that if you push love away first, you won't have to experience the pain of having it leave later. But sabotage never protects you from pain. It only guarantees that you'll experience the pain of loneliness instead of the vulnerability of love. When you notice yourself creating distance from someone who genuinely cares about you, pause and ask yourself, am I protecting my heart or am I imprisoning it? The fifth and most subtle obstacle is resistance to your own radiance. As you become more magnetic, as your energy becomes more radiant and attractive, you might find yourself dimming your light to make others feel comfortable. This especially affects women who were taught that being too bright, too beautiful, too confident makes other people feel bad. But diminishing yourself doesn't serve anyone. When you shine your full light, you give others permission to shine theirs. Your radiance doesn't take anything away from anyone else. It adds beauty and inspiration to the world. Every single one of these obstacles is resolvable through the same practice that created your magnetism in the first place. When imposter syndrome whispers lies about your worthiness, return to your 11 words. When fear of intimacy makes you want to run, speak your truth about being lovable. When family programming tries to convince you that struggle is normal in love, affirm your complete worthiness of ease and joy. When sabotage patterns emerge, anchor yourself in loving. When you feel pressured to dim your light, remember that you are worthy of taking up space in all your radiant glory. These obstacles aren't signs that you're doing something wrong. They're signs that you're doing something powerful. Old patterns always resist being replaced by new truth. But every time you choose love over fear, worthiness over unworthiness, radiance over dimming, you strengthen the magnetic field that draws authentic love toward you. As your magnetic field grows stronger, the universe begins sending you clear signs that your frequency has shifted. These confirmations come in 3 distinct categories, and recognizing them will help you trust the process and continue building your magnetism even when old doubts try to creep back in. The internal signs appear first. You'll notice that you wake up feeling differently about yourself. Instead of immediately cataloging what needs to be improved or fixed, you might find yourself feeling grateful to be alive, curious about the day ahead, genuinely pleased to be in your own company. Your inner dialogue becomes gentler, more encouraging. Where there used to be constant criticism, there's now a voice that speaks to you the way you would speak to someone you love deeply. You'll catch yourself looking in mirrors with kindness rather than judgment, appreciating your reflection instead of automatically focusing on perceived flaws. The interpersonal signs follow closely behind. People begin responding to you differently in ways that are subtle but unmistakable. Conversations become easier, more flowing, more genuine. Strangers make eye contact and smile. Friends comment that there's something different about your energy, something lighter or more peaceful. You'll notice that you're no longer working so hard to be interesting or acceptable in social situations. Instead, you're simply present, and that presence draws people toward you naturally. But the most compelling signs are the magnetic manifestations. These are the synchronicities, the unexpected encounters, the opportunities for love that begin appearing in your life with increasing frequency. You might find yourself in situations where meaningful connections happen effortlessly. People who match your new vibration start showing up in your experience, not because you're seeking them, but because like frequencies naturally find each other in the electromagnetic field of life. Let me tell you about Valentina, a woman who came to one of my workshops in Portland last year. She was 37 years old and had been single for 5 years after a devastating divorce. She said to me, "Louise, I've given up on love. I'm focusing on my career and my friendships, and I've accepted that romantic love just isn't in my cards. But something about the 11 words resonated with her, and she decided to experiment with them, not because she believed they would bring her love, but because she was tired of the constant self-criticism in her head. Within 2 weeks of beginning the practice, Valentina started noticing the internal signs. She told me that for the first time in years, she enjoyed her own company. She started taking herself on dates, to museums and cafes, not because she was lonely, but because she genuinely wanted to spend time with herself. The critical voice that had dominated her thoughts for so long began to quiet, replaced by something much kinder and more supportive. The interpersonal signs followed quickly. Her colleagues at work began seeking out her opinion more often. Friends started confiding in her more deeply. Even her relationship with her teenage daughter improved dramatically. Her daughter said to her one evening, "Mom, I like you better now. You seem happier." But the magnetic manifestation was the most surprising of all. 4 months into the practice, Valentina was at her local farmer's market on a Saturday morning, buying flowers for her apartment. A man in line behind her complimented her selection, and they began talking about gardening. The conversation was so natural and flowing that when he asked if she'd like to get coffee, saying yes felt as easy as breathing. They discovered they had been shopping at the same market for 3 years, walking past each other dozens of times, but had never connected before. The only thing that changed was Valentina's magnetic field. They've been together for 8 months now, and Valentina says the relationship feels completely different from anything she's ever experienced. There's no drama, no games, no trying to prove worthiness. Just two people who recognized each other's light and chose to nurture it together. She tells me that the love she's receiving now matches exactly the love she learned to give herself through those 11 words. Take a moment right now and pause. I want you to just sit in silence with me for 5 seconds and feel this. Feel the possibility that's opening in your chest. Feel the shift that's already happening in your energy field. You don't have to force anything. Just notice what's arising in your awareness as you consider that you might already be becoming magnetic to the love that's perfect for you. These signs aren't coincidences. They're the universe responding to the new frequency you're broadcasting. Every kind word, every unexpected smile, every moment of feeling genuinely comfortable in your own skin is confirmation that your magnetic field is growing stronger and your capacity to both give and receive love is expanding exactly as it should. You've traveled from repelling love through unconscious programming to magnetizing love through conscious declaration. You've discovered that the 11 words, "I am loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love," are not just affirmations, but frequency generators that restructure your entire electromagnetic field. You've learned practices to amplify this magnetism, recognized the milestones along the journey, identified the obstacles that will try to derail you, and understood the signs that confirm your transformation is real and measurable. But I want to share with you the most profound example of magnetic love manifestation I have ever witnessed. A story that proves beyond any doubt that when you align with your true worthiness, the universe conspires to bring you love that exceeds your wildest dreams. This is the story of Louise herself, and how at the age of 53, after decades of difficult relationships, after healing from cancer, after years of working on herself and teaching others, she discovered that everything she had been teaching about magnetic love was about to be proven in the most beautiful way imaginable. It was a Thursday afternoon in October, and Louise had been practicing the 11 words daily for 8 months. She had reached a place of complete contentment with her single life, genuinely happy with her own company, no longer seeking love, but simply radiating it naturally in all her interactions. She was at the Beverly Hills Library, researching material for her next book when she dropped her pen under the table where she was sitting. As she bent down to retrieve it, another hand reached for the same pen at the same moment. She looked up into the eyes of a man who was also reaching down, and in that instant, she later told me, she felt a recognition so profound, it was like remembering something she had forgotten lifetimes ago. He was 62 years old, a widower who had been alone for 7 years, and when their eyes met, he felt the same electric recognition. But here's the most beautiful part. Instead of the usual awkwardness or attempt to create chemistry, They both simply started laughing. Not nervous laughter, but the deep, delighted laughter of two souls who had found each other again. They sat down at the same table, and for the next 4 hours, they talked as if they had known each other forever. There was no pretense, no performance, no trying to impress. Just two people whose magnetic fields were perfectly aligned, creating a space where love could flow freely and naturally. He said to her before they parted that day, "I feel like I've been waiting my whole life for this conversation." She replied, "I feel like I've been preparing my whole life to be ready for you." They began spending time together immediately, not out of neediness or loneliness, but from the genuine joy they found in each other's presence. 6 months later, he proposed to her in the same library where they met, and she said yes before he even finished asking. Louise told me that the relationship was unlike anything she had ever experienced because it was built on magnetic attraction between two people who were already complete within themselves. They weren't trying to fill empty spaces in each other. They were sharing their fullness, celebrating their individual radiance, and creating something even more beautiful together than either could create alone. They were married for 12 years, until Louise's transition, and he later said that loving her taught him that true partnership isn't about need, it's about choice. Two whole people choosing each moment to nurture and celebrate the love that flows between them. The 11 words didn't just bring Louise a relationship. They brought her the love of her lifetime, the partnership she had been unknowingly preparing for through every difficult relationship, every moment of loneliness, every practice of self-love that had led her to that moment of perfect recognition. You have completed 54 minutes of the most powerful magnetic love training available anywhere. You didn't just accidentally stumble upon this teaching. You were guided here because something in you knows it's time to stop settling for love that feels like work and start experiencing love that feels like coming home. You have stayed present through an entire process of electromagnetic recalibration, and that dedication is proof that you are absolutely ready for the love that matches your true magnificence. Place your hand on your heart right now and connect with the magnetic field of love that surrounds your entire being. Feel the warmth under your palm. Feel the steady rhythm of the heart that has been faithfully beating for you since before you took your first breath. This heart knows your worthiness even when your mind forgets. This heart has been preparing you for this moment of final alignment with your magnetic power. Take a moment to appreciate what has shifted in your energy during these past 60 minutes. When you first arrived here, you were someone who unconsciously repelled love through the language of unworthiness. Now you sit here as someone who consciously magnetizes love through the frequency of recognition. This transformation didn't happen because you fixed something broken. It happened because you remembered something forgotten. You remembered that love is your essential nature, and everything else was just temporary amnesia. We are going to speak the 11 words together 3 times, each repetition sealing your new identity deeper into your consciousness, your nervous system, and your electromagnetic field. These aren't words you're trying on to see if they fit. These are words of recognition, statements of what has always been true about you and is now coming into your conscious awareness and expression. But before we speak them, I want you to understand the sacred responsibility that comes with this level of magnetic power. When you become a true magnet for love, you become responsible for the energy you bring into every interaction, every space, every relationship. You can no longer hide behind the illusion of being unworthy or unlovable. You must step into the fullness of your radiance and trust that the world needs your particular frequency of love exactly as it is. First, whisper these words with me like a sacred secret you're sharing with your own soul. Let your voice be soft, intimate, reverent, as if you're telling yourself something you've waited your whole life to hear. I am loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love. Feel how the words want to live in your chest, how they resonate in the chambers of your heart, how they create space where there was once constriction. This whisper is your confession to yourself, your acknowledgement of what you may have forgotten, but are now remembering with every cell of your being. Notice how your breathing changes as these words move through you. Notice if there's warmth spreading through your chest. If your shoulders are relaxing, if something that has been held tightly for years is finally beginning to soften. Your nervous system is receiving new programming. Your electromagnetic field is recalibrating. Your entire energetic signature is shifting from someone who pushes love away to someone who draws love near. Now speak the words in your natural voice with the confidence of someone stating a simple fact about reality, like saying the sky is blue or water flows downhill. I am loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love. Let your voice carry the weight of truth, the certainty of someone who no longer needs to convince themselves because they simply know. This is your declaration to the invisible forces that arrange circumstances in your life, your announcement that you are ready to receive what matches your true frequency. Feel how different these words sound in your normal voice compared to the tentative whisper. There's strength here, conviction, a quality of someone who has stopped arguing with their own worthiness and started living from it. This voice carries authority because it speaks from alignment with universal truth. When you speak from this place, the universe has no choice but to respond by bringing you experiences that confirm what you're declaring. Finally, speak these words with the full authority of someone who knows they are stating universal law, someone whose alignment with truth gives them the power to call forth what matches their frequency. Speak as someone who understands that their words are creative forces, magnetic commands that set energy in motion throughout the field of infinite possibility. I am loving, lovable, and completely worthy of love. This is your decree to the universe, your command to the field of infinite possibility that surrounds you always. This final repetition carries the weight of cosmic law because it comes from complete alignment between what you know to be true and what you're willing to claim as your reality. When you speak from this level of certainty, you're not asking the universe for love. You're informing it of your readiness to receive the love that has always been waiting for your acceptance. Now I want you to feel into your new identity with the same 3 levels of recognition. You are no longer someone who hopes to attract love someday. You are no longer someone who has to earn love through perfection or performance. You are someone who magnetizes love naturally, effortlessly, constantly. Let's claim this identity together in 3 levels of truth, each one anchoring this new reality deeper into your consciousness. Whisper with me like you're telling yourself the most beautiful secret, something so precious and true that it can only be shared in hushed, reverent tones. I am a magnet for love. Feel how your body responds to these words, how something deep inside you says yes. This is who I have always been beneath the layers of forgetting. This is who I was before I learned to doubt, before I absorbed other people's fears about love, before I made someone else's inability to see my worth into evidence of my unworthiness. Notice what happens in your body as you speak these words. Does your chest expand? Do your shoulders drop? Does your breathing become deeper and more relaxed? These physical changes are your nervous system's way of saying yes to truth, of releasing the tension that comes from trying to be someone other than who you really are. Speak now with your full voice, as someone stating an obvious truth about their nature, like declaring that you have brown eyes or that you were born in a particular year. I am a magnet for love. Let these words fill the space around you, programming the air itself with your new frequency, announcing to all of existence that love is your natural state of being, not something you have to chase or earn or prove yourself worthy of receiving. This is the voice of someone who has stopped trying to convince themselves of their worthiness and has started living from it. There's no strain here, no effort to believe something that feels untrue. Just the simple, powerful statement of what is and has always been real about your essential nature. Now declare with complete authority, with the power of someone whose alignment gives them dominion over their own experience, someone who understands that their conscious participation in truth gives them creative authority over their reality. I am a magnet for love. This is not hope. This is not wishful thinking. This is recognition of what is and has always been true about your essential nature, now claimed with the full power of conscious awareness. When you speak from this level of authority, you're not trying to create something new. You're acknowledging what has always existed and giving it permission to express fully through your experience. You're removing the barriers that have kept love at a distance and allowing your natural magnetism to function without interference. Do you remember the question I asked you at the very beginning of this journey? Are you repelling love with the words you use to speak about yourself? Now you have the complete answer. You were repelling love, but only because you had forgotten who you really are. You are not someone who repels love. You never were. That was just a temporary case of mistaken identity, a spell of forgetfulness that has now been broken by the simple act of remembering and declaring your true nature. You are someone who magnetizes love through the simple recognition and declaration of your inherent worthiness. The words you speak about yourself now are magnetic instructions to the universe, and the universe always responds with perfect precision because it cannot distinguish between what you believe about yourself and what you truly are. When you align your words with truth, reality has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your declaration. From this moment forward, every word you speak about yourself is either strengthening your magnetic field or weakening it. Every thought you think about your worthiness is either drawing love closer or pushing it away. But now you have the tools, the awareness, and the experience to choose consciously. You know what it feels like to speak from magnetic truth, and you can return to this feeling whenever you need to remember who you really are. If you have traveled this entire journey with me, if you have allowed these 60-plus minutes to rewire your frequency, if you feel the shift that has occurred in your energy field, then you are ready to be part of this community of people who are choosing to live as magnets for love rather than seekers of love. When you subscribe to this channel, you're not just following content. You're declaring your membership in a group of souls who refuse to settle for less than the love that recognizes and celebrates their true magnificence. This community becomes a field of magnetic reinforcement. When you're surrounded by others who know themselves to be worthy of love, who practice speaking truth about their essential nature, who support each other's remembering rather than forgetting, your own magnetic field grows stronger through resonance. We become more powerful together than any of us could be alone. I want you to return to this moment 30 days from now. Come back to the comments and share the most beautiful sign of your magnetic love manifestation. It might be a new relationship that feels completely different from anything you've ever experienced. Or it might be a completely transformed existing relationship that has deepened into something you didn't know was possible. It might be the way strangers respond to you now, how conversations flow more easily, how your own energy feels in your body when you wake up each morning. Whatever it is, share it here, because your story will be the spark that ignites someone else's belief in their own magnetic power. Your transformation becomes proof for someone else that this is real, that this works, that love truly does respond to the frequency of worthiness. Every comment you leave here becomes part of the magnetic field that supports others in their own journey of remembering. For those of you who feel moved to support this work, there's a way to plant seeds in the field of abundance while receiving this teaching. You'll find the details in the pinned comment. This isn't payment for what you've received. This is energy exchange, conscious participation in the flow of giving and receiving that keeps all love circulating freely in the world. When you give from a magnetic field of love, rather than from obligation or expectation, your giving becomes another form of magnetizing, another way of declaring your worthiness to receive. Whether you choose to participate in this exchange or not, you are loved, you are valued, and you are always welcome in this space of transformation. Your worthiness doesn't depend on what you do or don't do, what you give or don't give. Your worthiness is inherent, unchangeable, and the foundation of all the love that is now free to flow toward you. The love that you magnetize now is not a reward for finally getting something right. It is the natural result of remembering what has always been true. You are loving, you are lovable, and you are completely worthy of love. This is not a temporary feeling that will fade when the inspiration wears off. This is your identity, claimed and sealed in the deepest levels of your consciousness. This is your frequency, now broadcasting clearly and powerfully into the field of infinite possibility. This is your magnetic field, now properly calibrated to attract what you have always deserved, but may not have been ready to receive. The love that comes to you now comes not because you earned it through this practice, but because you recognized it as your birthright and claimed it as your reality. You stopped arguing with your own worthiness and started living from it. You stopped trying to become lovable and started remembering that you already are. Love is no longer something you seek because you have remembered that love is something you are. Love is no longer something you hope to receive because you now understand that love is something you naturally emanate and therefore naturally attract. You don't need to chase love anymore because you have become love itself, and love always finds its way to love through the invisible threads of magnetic recognition. The 11 words you have spoken today will continue working in the background of your consciousness long after this experience ends. Every time you forget who you are, every time the old programming tries to reassert itself, these words will surface as a reminder of what you have remembered and claimed. They will become your anchor in moments of doubt, your compass when you lose your way back home to the truth of your essential nature. It is finished. It is sealed. It is done. You are a magnet for love, now and always. The universe has heard your declaration and is already rearranging circumstances to honor your new frequency. Love is on its way to you not as a stranger, but as recognition of what you have always been and are now finally ready to receive.